Have you ever done something so out of character that you looked back and asked, "What was I thinking?" Have you ever felt a sudden flash of intense rage, a wave of dark jealousy, or a strange urge to sabotage your own success? Most of us like to believe we are rational, kind, and predictable people, but underneath the surface of your conscious mind, there is a hidden basement. The legendary Swiss psychologist Carl Jung called this the shadow. The shadow is everything about yourself that you have rejected, suppressed, or deemed unacceptable. It is the collection of your darkest desires, your unhealed traumas, and your hidden strengths. Today, we are going deep into the 10 stages of the shadow self to understand why the parts of you that you hide are actually the parts that control your life. The birth of the persona and the shadow. To understand the shadow, we must first understand its twin, the persona. From the moment we are born, we are taught what is good and what is bad. When you were a child, if you were loud and your parents shamed you, you learned to be quiet to survive. You created a quiet persona to show the world. But where did that loudness go? It didn't disappear. It was pushed into the shadow. Every time you say yes when you want to say no, every time you smile when you are angry, you are feeding the shadow. The persona is the mask you wear. The shadow is the face you're afraid to show. Point 1 is recognizing that your personality is not one single thing, but a constant tension between the mask and the basement. The mirror of projection. How do you find your shadow? You look at the people you hate. Point 2 is psychological projection. Jung famously said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." If you find yourself pathologically annoyed by people who are arrogant, it is often because you have suppressed your own need for recognition and power. Because you don't allow yourself to feel important, you project that suppressed desire onto others and judge them for it. Your triggers are a map to your shadow. The things you find most unforgivable in others are often the very things you are doing to yourself in secret. The golden shadow. Most people think the shadow is only bad things, like anger or greed. But point 3 is the golden shadow. Sometimes we suppress our greatest talents because we are afraid of the responsibility that comes with them. If you grew up in a family where being special was seen as being conceited, you might have pushed your creativity, your leadership, or your brilliance into the shadow. You live a mediocre life because your gold is buried in the basement. This is why some people feel a deep, unexplainable sadness. It's the grief of the unlived life. Your shadow isn't just a monster. It's a treasure chest that you've locked from the inside. The pressure cooker effect. What happens when you ignore the shadow? It grows stronger. Point 4 is the pressure cooker effect. Think of your mind as a sealed pot. You keep pushing down your anger, your grief, and your desires. You think you're in control because the lid is on tight, but eventually, the steam has to go somewhere. This manifests as Freudian slips, sudden emotional outbursts, or shadow possession, where you lose control and say something devastating to a loved one. The more you deny a part of yourself, the more power it has over you. You don't eliminate the shadow by ignoring it, you only make it more volatile. The shadow in relationships. Have you ever wondered why you keep dating the same toxic person? Point 5 explains the shadow attraction. We are often subconsciously attracted to people who live out the parts of life that we have suppressed. If you are overly controlled and rigid, you might fall in love with someone wild and unpredictable. You think you love their freedom, but really, your shadow is trying to find a way to express itself through them. Eventually, the very thing you loved about them becomes the thing you hate. This is because you are trying to find wholeness through another person, instead of doing the internal work of integrating your own wildness. Collective shadows and mob mentality. The shadow isn't just individual, it's collective. Point 6 is the societal shadow. This is what happens when entire groups of people project their darkness onto a common enemy. This is the psychological root of racism, war, and online culture. By labeling them as the evil ones, we get to feel perfectly pure and righteous. It's a dangerous form of self-deception. When we stop seeing the humanity in others, it's because we have stopped seeing the monster inside ourselves. A society that refuses to acknowledge its own shadow is a society that is destined for violence. The archetype of the trickster inside the shadow lives a specific energy called the trickster. This is the part of you that loves to break rules and cause chaos. The trickster is the one who makes you want to quit your job on a whim or tell a joke at a funeral. While the trickster can be destructive, it is also the source of creativity and change. Without the trickster, life would be a stagnant, boring loop of correct behavior. Learning to dance with your internal trickster allows you to be flexible and innovative. It's about letting the fool out in small, safe doses so he doesn't burn the whole house down when you're not looking. Shadow integration. So, what is the solution? Jung called it individuation, or shadow integration. This is not about fixing yourself or becoming perfect. It is about becoming whole. Integration means looking your shadow in the eye and saying, I see you. You are a part of me. It means acknowledging your capacity for evil so that you can consciously choose to be good. A person who is harmless is not virtuous. They are just weak. A truly virtuous person is someone who has a beast inside them, but keeps it on a leash. Integration is the process of putting that beast to work for you instead of letting it hunt you. The role of dreams and symbols. How does the shadow communicate with us? Point 9 is the language of the unconscious. Since the shadow is hidden from our conscious logic, it speaks through dreams, art, and myths. Recurring nightmares about being chased often represent a part of your shadow that is trying to get your attention. The monster in your dream is usually a suppressed emotion that needs to be heard. By paying attention to your dreams and your spontaneous gut reactions, you can begin a dialogue with your hidden self. Your unconscious is constantly trying to heal you. You just have to learn to translate its code. The burden of consciousness. The final point is the price of awareness. Once you start shadow work, you can never go back to being blissfully ignorant. You will start to see your own manipulations, your own hypocrisies, and your own hidden agendas. It is a heavy burden. It's much easier to pretend we are the good guy in every story, but the burden of consciousness is the only path to real freedom. If you don't know your shadow, you are a puppet. If you know your shadow, you are the master of your own soul. The ultimate goal of life is not to be a perfect saint, but a fully realized human being. Light, dark, and everything in between. Carl Jung famously said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." The shadow is not your enemy. It is a part of your soul that has been neglected for too long. It is like a disobedient child that only wants to be seen. When you embrace your shadow, you regain your energy, your passion, and your authenticity. You stop being a flat character and become a three-dimensional person. So, the next time you feel a dark emotion, don't run from it. Sit with it. Ask it what it wants. Because the very thing you are running from might be the key that unlocks the door to your greatest self. To find the light, you must be brave enough to walk through your own darkness.